Here are my top 7 business lies that could be costing you thousands right now. Things that on the surface sound appealing, but could cost you thousands of dollars or even your whole company. You're going to want to listen to all of these because you may already be making some of these mistakes right now. In case you're new to the channel, I'm Arlan Hamilton. I am the founder of Backstage Capital, where I've invested in more than 200 companies, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I want to help 1,000 people become new millionaires. Let's get into it. Business lie number 1, that profitability is the only measure of success. So you definitely want to make a profit. That is the point of being in business. But there's so much more to it. You can think through the lens of impact, sustainability. You can focus also on the impact that you give, your employee well-being, and then the social change that could come from what you're building. This challenges the norms of financial metrics being the only thing that matter in business. After all, you started this business for a reason. You're not just in it for the money, or I think you wouldn't be watching this video. You're in it for the holistic view, what it can give back to you and what you can give back to the world. Lie number 2, entrepreneurs must sacrifice everything for their company. It's just not true. I don't think that a work-life balance is realistic, but I also don't think that you have to hustle your way through life for your company. You have to sacrifice everything. And this is coming from someone who has done a lot of what I would call sacrificing. I've learned over the years, though, as I got older, that it's not the most important thing in the world. It can be your livelihood. It can be the thing that helps you pay the bills. It can be the thing that some people know you for. But you also want to think about joy derived from other places. So think about family, friends, hobbies, impact that you want to have on the world. There's just so much else. And please, please, please get enough rest. Like, rest is its own form of joy. And the older you get, the more you will seek rest. Lie number 3, only the young can be entrepreneurs. Okay, that's crazy. That makes no sense at all, because yes, it's great to experiment when you're young. It's great to take more risk when you're young, but the experience that people have as they get older, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 and beyond, the experience that you have from living, from being on this earth for more time than the next person, you bring that into your company. If you want to start a new company, does not mean that you have to become an entrepreneur, a business owner in older age. It doesn't mean that you have to, but if you want to, you shouldn't let age stop you. And by the same token, if you are younger, you should not look at older people as someone who cannot get into business. It just doesn't make any sense. I know that when I work with people who are older than I am, I take on their mentorship. I take on their understandings, their experience. They have been places that I either am going through right now or on my way to. At the same time, I think older people can learn a lot from younger people. So I think it's this combination. Stacy London talks about this idea of mentoring down or mentoring up, meaning that younger person could mentor an older person and vice versa, because she realizes in her 50s that there's a lot she can learn from someone in their 20s and vice versa. So definitely don't let age, regardless of what it is, stop you from being an entrepreneur. The next lie is networking is about collecting contacts. That is not true. And in my book, It's About Damn Time, I actually talk about this. I talk about networks versus networking, and both are important, but networking is something people do. They take their business cards, or they may have some way to, exchange number through their smartphones. And it's about this numbers game. Like, I go to this conference or I go to this meetup, how many people's names can I get into my phone and vice versa? And that works on a very surface level, but how many times do you go back and actually reach the multiple people you reached out to and met in person when that happens? What I like to do, for instance, when I'm at an event or throwing my own event, Your First Million Live, is that if I meet someone that I find is like really interesting and I want to follow up with them later on, I'll have them take their phone out if they want and go right to their text messages, and I'll give them my number and I say, text me your name and your company and maybe a little bit of keywords of what we just talked about right now. And sometimes they'll say, cool, they'll take their phone out and they'll take a picture of the two of us, and then that's what their text is as well, right? So I like that too in certain circumstances. That way I know within 48 hours, I'm going to be able to go back and look through my phone and see, I just met this person, I do remember meeting them, I liked what they had to say. Now, of course, they now have your phone number. So some people can go a little overboard, but most people are cool. Most people do not take advantage, especially if you have certain instincts that you're developing in person. It's almost a good idea to take the risk so that you can learn to understand and trust your instincts. You know, when you say yes to someone like that on the phone, again, with safety in mind, and then maybe it doesn't work out, then you've learned for the next time. And I think it's just a lesson learned. But the point of this is really, listen, having multiple numbers in your phone, but it not having substance to it, and not really resulting in anything, that is just vanity metrics. And you want to be in the room, you want to connect with more people than you need to connect with, especially the younger you are, the newer you are, not just younger, but the newer you are to something, the more you put yourself out there. Because over time, you'll have to go further and further back and become a hermit almost to really dial in on what you're doing. So you do want to over-index on meeting people. What is that thing that could happen if you just put yourself out there? One thing that I still do is I will go to an event and just put myself in the room. I'll put myself, between firesides. I'll just stand outside in the lobby. I'll wait for someone to pass by or for me to see someone and maybe start talking. And it still happens where most of the time something interesting happens. This happened to me just a few hours ago. I was just standing in a place and somebody walked up to me and we started having a conversation, and they didn't know me and I didn't know them. And it turned into that person being in my phone because there's something I think we can work on together. So sometimes it's just about being in the room rather than how many names and numbers can I collect. The next lie in business is never give up. Of course, I want you to go for it. Of course, I want you to keep going. You can do this. But that doesn't mean you can't pivot. You can't change your mind, because you can. You are allowed to pivot. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to look at data and experience and time and make decisions that are more recent and more current for your circumstances. So if something is not working, and it is not working for a while, and it is causing you pain and anxiety, and you decide, I do not want to continue on this path, it is okay to quote unquote give up. Because an entrepreneur is always an entrepreneur, no matter what they're working on. If you decide to change your path, that should be okay. It's like an artist. If an artist is painting something and it's not turning into what they thought it was going to, some will say, well, let me keep going and let me turn it into something else, and maybe I'll get there, and they will. And others might say, actually, I'd like to start from scratch. And I'd like to start with a different thesis because my original thesis is not working out. Which one of those is wrong? Neither of them. They're both right because that is right for them. So as long as you're doing no harm to others, it is okay to give yourself permission to start over. The next business lie is follow your passion and the rest will come. It's nice to think that, and I definitely think you should have passion. If you do not have passion, what is getting you up in the morning? What is helping you during the toughest times in your company and the journey? Passion is incredibly important, but like many things, it's not the only thing. Passion alone is rudderless. It is you in the middle of a lake going nowhere with a whole bunch of passion and happiness. But if you have direction, so you have aim, and then you have the wind or an engine propelling you in the direction, then you have something, right? So I would say that passion is sort of the gasoline that propels you, and intention and process and systems are the GPS. How do you get there? Where are you going? That is what I would say. And I would say also your why is your North Star. So a combination of passion. Please don't get into something just because you think you can make an extra buck, because you think it's easy, because someone else is doing it, because somebody else wants you to do it. Have that passion, that's the fire within. But then add to it determination, grit, direction, and that passion will take you so far. Okay, before we go any further, I want to test something. This is a little weird, but I heard that on YouTube, they're testing this feature that if you hit the subscribe button, it animates the button as I say the word subscribe in the video. I don't know if this is like a myth or what, but I want to experiment to see. Let me know in the comments if it's working. So subscribe, let me know if the animated button is working, and we'll get right back to the list. The final lie in business is do not worry about your competition. Or said another way, I don't have competition. Sorry to break it to you, but everybody, and I mean everyone, has competition. If you don't think you have competition in business, something is off. Yes, of course, you may be the first in your lane, you may be the first to look at something a certain way, but everything under the sun has been done before. And one way or another, like time and time again, history repeats itself. You want to think about what is something that people are using instead of this product or service right now. Maybe you have just a direct competitor. Like I'm working in the water business right now, still and sparkling water at yachtwater.com. Definitely it's water, so of course I have competition. But what if I had said, well, because the cans are so beautiful, beautifully designed, because the water is so crisp and the flavor is amazing and it's in a can so that it's recyclable and we're giving profits back to the water crises in the US, which all is true. What if I said I have this audience that's so cool and so different, and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an investor and I'm an author and I'm a speaker and there's all kinds of cool stuff in my community. It's just so unique. Also true. What if I said, I have no competition because I'm so different than other waters? Would that be true? No, it would not. It would be delusional. It would be delusional because water is one of the most ubiquitous things in the world, like quite literally. It's water. So it's not bad to have competition. In fact, when I was building Yacht Water, and I still am building it, yachtwater.com, I looked at liquid death. I love Spindrift, I love Sanzo. There's these different still and sparkling water brands that I really study. Some of them I consume. And it was having that competition and studying that competition that actually made Yacht Water stand above, to look at what has been done before, decide what I want to do differently, what I want to do better, and what I do also want to just keep the same because it's already something that I respect and something that works. That's what having competition gives you, is the ability to go look at their mistakes, go look at what they've done well, and just keep reiterating. There's nothing new under the sun. Just remember that. And next time you think you have no competition, ask yourself if you're lying to yourself. This bonus lie that you may have heard in business is that the nice guys can't win. They finish last. I do not believe that at all. I think that kindness and empathy and caring are like superpowers. I think they have an ROI, a return on investment, that is way, way, way higher than any kind of like alpha coming in and winning the deal and winning at all costs vibe. You see it time and time again. There's some people who, yes, they are mean and they may do brutal things. And yes, in the moment they may have success, but it's fleeting and it can't be fulfilling. That's what I know. Like there's some mean people who are like, they're rich and they're gonna be rich for the rest of their lives, but are they fulfilled? I don't think they are. I think they are kind of in a toxic cesspool and they have to live with themselves. And yes, almost everyone is the hero in their own story, but you have to be pretty miserable to take out your anger or your bad day on other people. And so if they're doing that every single day, they're known to be people who just act in a toxic way to get what they want in business. They are not winning. They're not finishing first. But if you have maybe less money right now, you have fewer opportunities, you're not necessarily the top dog in your industry, but you're treating people well, you're treating yourself well, over time, that pays off. And I've been there. I understand what it feels like to feel like, man, I serve other people. I do so much for other people. I sacrifice, going back to the word we said earlier. And I feel like I'm not getting what I deserve back. I feel like I'm not being treated that way back. I know what that feels like all the time. I know it. But what helps me is to think about the miserable life that someone who is seemingly on top, but you know that they're mean to people and that they do not trade in kindness, what miserable life they must lead and the people around them must lead. I wouldn't trade that for kindness and less money for anything in the world. Through all my time investing in businesses and building my own, I have learned a ton of lessons. If you don't want to have to learn these lessons the hard way, watch my video where I tell you the lessons learned in just a few minutes that I learned over decades. Check it out. Make sure you sign up for my newsletter. You get 3 months free of my masterclass, and that's a $90 value for free just for signing up to my newsletter. And I'll send you all kinds of resources and opportunities in the newsletter. I'll let you know what I'm thinking about current events and how I'm thinking about business, and give you some of those tips and tricks that I know that help you and I wish that I had when I was just getting started.